Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting Australian Indian Radio's daily live updates. And it's wonderful to have your company once again today on this Tuesday. And a beautiful day out there, I must say, with a maximum of 20 degrees and a chance of rain at 0%. So, it's looking very, very good out there. As you can have a quick look and see how it looks out there. It's beautiful. So mostly sunny, chance of rain is 0%, and Brisbane will be mostly sunny with some winds. So the winds are going to be westerly 25 to 35 kilometers per hour. Fire danger is going to remain high, and sun protection is recommended from now till about 1:20 p.m. And the UV index is predicted to stay at about 4, which is quite moderate for this time of the year. And as we know, the mornings are getting brisker, and wow, it was very, very cold in the morning. You would have all noticed that. And as we know, that these days with the cold, so ladies and gentlemen, moving on with the show, there are things that is happening out there in the cold front. So let's take a look at the cold weather that's been coming in here.
Let's switch to Queensland now, where Annie Puller reports the granite belt is bracing for some very chilly conditions.
Well, welcome to winter in Queensland. While the sun is shining, don't be fooled. Negative temperatures, thick frost and snow flurries. That's what's expected to hit here at Stanthorpe in the Granite Belt region over the next couple of days. I can tell you residents here are primed for freezing conditions, but this week we'll be testing.
Once it gets below 0, then I whack on a beanie.
I've got 2-3 layers on.
The wood fires. That's the key, I think, and just rugging up.
According to the Bureau, a dusting is looking likely in New South Wales, and I'm told the white stuff could extend as far north as the Granite Belt near Girrawheen National Park by tomorrow.
Oh, it'd be lovely, because I haven't seen it up here.
Crossing our fingers then.
Yes, by all means.
This morning it certainly felt like snow could arrive at any moment. Locals proudly selling their town as the coldest place in Queensland. This is just the start of what's expected to be a very chilly week. The arrival of a cold air mass about midnight has seen temperatures fall. Toowoomba, Warwick and Oakey all dipping below 6 degrees, but icy winds are making it seem much colder than it actually is.
I'm really enjoying it, yeah. No, I enjoy the frosty mornings in Stanthorpe.
We're used to it.
Temperatures in the Western Downs and Granite Belt are expected to drop by as much as 6 degrees by Wednesday. Thursday night is expected to bring the coldest temperatures. Brisbane could also dip below just 6 degrees for the chilliest night of the year so far. Good news, these freezing mornings are leading to beautiful, bright, blue sky days. Temperatures here at Stanthorpe are expected to creep back up to around 11 degrees by lunchtime.
So there you are, the cold front and making that landfall. But it is wonderful because many times, people are able to sleep in well, dress up nicely, and the weather is looking amazing outside there. So as I said, sun protection is recommended from 10 till about 1:30. Now just a very, very quick look at the coronavirus numbers. We will be going into great details about that a little bit later on in the show. But right now, let's look at the overall numbers. So Australia, the confirmed cases so far is 7,472, and the recovery is 6,903. The death remains at 102. Worldwide, wow, the number has reached 9 million. Yes, 9 million. And the recovery is 4.47 million, and the death toll remains at 469,000. So that's a whooping number out there. But right now, before we go into a bit more further detail of today's news, just some latest news which has come through, and I'd like to include that on the show right now. And it is about the High Court decision, the allegations about the abuse coming out from Victoria. So
Let's get straight to the news. And explosive allegations of abuse of power have been laid at the doorstep of the High Court after an independent inquiry found 6 women were sexually harassed by a former justice. Charles Croucher has the details. And Charles, what's been the reaction to these findings?
Ali, has been shock across the legal fraternity. The High Court launched this inquiry over a year ago following accusations of what appeared to be a pattern of sexual harassment over the decade that Dyson Heydon sat on the High Court. The findings state the women who made the accusations are to be believed and they were accepted without qualification. Here's New South Wales Law Council President Pauline Wright.
It is a real shock and a wake-up call to our profession. The legal profession, like any other workplace, should be safe for women.
The Chief Justice of the Court, Susan Kiefel, personally apologised to the 6 women. Those women are lawyers, their associates and their judges. Justice Heydon's lawyers, though, have raised concerns about how the inquiry was conducted and deny any and all accusations of predatory behaviour.
OK, thanks, Charles.
Police are today renewing their search for clues into William Tyrrell's disappearance. Today, Sydney reporter Gabrielle Boyle is following developments. Gabby, they're targeting a new search area.
Yeah, they certainly are, Carl. They're searching an area called Herons Creek, which is about 11 minutes' drive from Kendall, which is where William went missing back on the 12th of September 2014. And the reason that they are searching this area is because at the time of William's disappearance, it was home to a convicted pedophile by the name of Frank Abbott. He was living in a caravan near a sawmill in that area at the time. We must emphasise he is a person of interest. He has never been arrested or charged over William's disappearance. He is simply a person police are looking closely at. This matter is still before the New South Wales coroner. The inquest is part heard. It stopped in March due to coronavirus and is due to resume in October. Carl?
Thank you, Gabby.
Health authorities...
So there's some breaking news coming out there, and we will keep you updated on how things are progressing on there. Now at a worldwide outlook, let's look at what's happening globally. As we know, everyone's gripping with the facts of trying to manage the coronavirus the best that they can. So just a quick headlines first. South Korea confirms second wave. So that was, this is what people are all worried about, talking about the second wave. New York City begins to reopen after 3 months. The virus could claim 20% of all small and medium-sized businesses. Saudi Arabia to limit Hajj pilgrimage to locals only. Not a joke. Kyrgios uploads more positives from Djokovic's tournament. Parties and infections lead to restrictions in Portugal. And cricket doctor says cricket might be at a high risk. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, the news in brief. Now let's look at the news in detail. So right now, coronavirus update, global case load surpasses 9 million. As I said before, that 9 million, that's a large number. So the World Health Organization Director, Dr. Tedros Adhanom, has outlined new concerns as coronavirus cases increase at a very, very high rate. So the World Health Organization is urging world leaders to unite and fight the pandemic as case surpasses 9 million worldwide. South Korean authorities have confirmed a second wave of COVID-19. Meanwhile, a survey of businesses from 132 countries reveal 1 in 5 small and medium-sized firms, that they could lose the job. So the businesses are suffering as well. So the small to medium-sized businesses will maybe looking at closing. And when we go back to the world leaders must politicize the coronavirus pandemic, but unite to fight it, the head of World Health Organization has warned, as a grim milestone is reached amid large rise of infections, especially in Brazil, Iraq, India, and southern western U.S. states. So that is what's happening out there. It is not a very, very good picture, as we say. The second wave that people are talking about is not. So the second wave, let's look at now. Let's take a quick look at Korea and see what's happening there. So in Korea, notice of precautions against the coronavirus is displayed at a subway station in South Korea. South Korean authorities say the capital Seoul is already experiencing a second wave of infections driven by small but persistent outbreak stemming from the holiday in May. The country reported 17 new cases, rising the total caseload to about 12,438. And according to the Korea Center for Disease Control, we originally predicted the second wave to emerge in autumn or winter, said the chief, and quoted the state news agency. So they were, the second wave that's been talked about, and we need to be very, very careful. And now, right now, we know that New York City, they have always been waiting to restart. So the New Yorkers are flocking to outdoor restaurants and bars after months as the coronavirus lockdown is eased. After more than 100 days of lockdown, New York City residents have celebrated their progress in curbing the coronavirus pandemic by getting their first haircuts in month, shopping at long-closed stores, and dining at outdoor cafes. Can't beat that. Once the epicenter of the global outbreak, the city was last region in New York State to move into phase 2 of the reopening, with restaurants and bars offering outdoor service and many shops reopening. So the barber shops and the hair salons welcomed customers for the first time since mid-March. That's a long time between haircuts. Playgrounds were also open on Monday, and in the most populous U.S. city. So that's the news from there. So the virus would have claimed 20% of all small to business and medium businesses, as we can see that they are all closing down. A report of International Trade Center says small to medium-sized businesses feel the brunt of coronavirus restrictions. About 20% say they risk shutting down permanently within 3 months, as a survey conducted by International Trade has shown. The lockdown has led to major revenue drops for most of the survival, and many is at stake. The 176-page report released by Geneva said that. So, when you look at the coronavirus cases, Queensland and Western Australia are right now at their borders closed, and the report, we will look at that in a minute as well. But the news now is that Saudi Arabia is going to limit the annual Hajj pilgrimage to locals. And so that is a big news. As we know, many people from all around the world, and there's special flights going out from India as well. So this year's Hajj will not be cancelled, but only very limited numbers of people will be allowed to attend. Saudi Arabia says it will bar arrivals from abroad attending the Hajj this year due to the coronavirus, allowing only a limited number of Saudi citizens and residents to make the pilgrimage, with social distancing measures enforced. The announcement means that this will be the first year in modern times when Muslims from around the world will not be allowed to make the annual pilgrimage to Makkah, with all Muslims aim to perform at least once in a lifetime. So that is big news coming out of there, but at least they will mark what's happening, and they will keep doing it within with the view of providing the services there to the locals and the locals only, and under those strict guidelines of coronavirus restrictions, the social distancing measures to be put in place as well. Nick Kyrgios hits out at the new cases emerged from the tennis exhibition. So this is another big news that's coming out as well. So Croatia's Bona Krovic and Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov tested positive to coronavirus after playing in a tennis tournament in Croatia. That is a terrible news. Croatian authorities have banned visits to nursing homes and hospitals in the Croatian town of Zadar, following an outbreak of the new coronavirus at an exhibition tennis tournament. Authorities said that dozens more tests are underway in Jeddah, while Croatia's state television reported that Prime Minister Andrej Plenković will also be tested after visiting the event. So there you are. That's what's happening in the tennis world. Well, you know, right now we'll have to also look at, if tennis is that way, what's going to happen with cricket. So is cricket looking dim or what? So cricket doctor says the tour would be a big risk. So Pakistan will play 3 tests 2020 against England in empty stadiums. A Pakistan Cricket Board medical official says that the upcoming tour of England during coronavirus pandemic is a big risk, but one that is necessary to help the country get through the crisis. During the pandemic, the tour is a big risk, the medical and sports science Dr. Sohail Salim said. We haven't experienced or we don't have experience in playing during a pandemic, but for both teams it means a fest. The pandemic means sick and risk, but consider them as players providing people entertainment. Yeah, entertainment it may be, but it is not going to be very, very good. So, you know, we'll break here for the news before we go into the more local news and the other news that's upcoming. Right now, we will take a quick commercial break and we'll be with you right back.
ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी 1989 से लेकर अब तक का विश्वसनीय और माननीय ब्रिस्बेन का रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। उषा चंद्रा, जो कि ग्लोबनेट की डायरेक्टर है, अपने ग्राहकों को ईमानदार और एथिक सर्विसेज देती हैं। अगर आप ब्रिस्बेन की प्रॉपर्टी में पूंजी लगाना चाहते हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोफेशनली मैनेज किया जाए, तो आप आज ही कांटेक्ट कीजिए उषा चंद्रा को। लैंडलाइन नंबर है 38654466 और मोबाइल नंबर है 0419775416। और आप प्रॉपर्टी की अधिक जानकारी और करंट अपडेट्स के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे लॉगिन कर सकते हैं। हमारी वेबसाइट है www.globnetreality.com.au। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी आपका अपना लोकल रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। हमारा पता है ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, शॉप नंबर 5, 2281 सैंडगेट रोड, बुंदल, क्वींसलैंड। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, रियल एस्टेट इज अवर वर्ल्ड।
And it definitely is the world, as we know, one of the longest serving agencies in the area doing quite well. Right now, looking at the Queensland border, and as we know, the border still remains closed and there's a lot of debates happening on the border. And here's what our Senator Paul Sky had to say in the Parliament House. And after that, we will also look at the responses.
So let's talk about opening borders. Let's talk about opening borders. Earlier in these 2 weeks, I talked about the postcodes in Queensland which have been most impacted by the closure of state borders, and that includes Cairns, Surfers Paradise, Southport, Nerang, Gabon, all been impacted by the closure of state borders. And my good friend Michael Hart, the member for Burleigh, summed it up best when he put up a billboard on the Gold Coast which said, "Planes equal jobs, open the border." Planes equal jobs, open the border. Senator Gallagher has spoken about how important the aviation industry is. I agree, but the Queensland government needs to open the border to get the planes flying again to create the jobs. Open the border, create jobs, get the planes.
Open the border and create the jobs. So that's what our senator is saying. Whether you agree or not, you know, whether the medical grounds is what the Premier is going by, with the advice that she's getting there. So, you know, here's the news of what was reported on the case of the border.
Coronavirus outbreak in Victoria could delay the opening of Queensland's borders. Tonight, Western Australia is pushing back its timeline for reopening, with Anastasia Palaszczuk considering her options.
Oh yeah, can we ask you about borders? Sure. Why, that's an unexpected question today.
The Premier at a building construction site, building her border case.
I have concerns about Victoria. The Health Minister has concerns about Victoria.
The plan for Queensland's border reopening in the coming weeks is heading south. Anastasia Palaszczuk alarmed by the rising rate of community transmission in Victoria.
It's still too early to say how the Victorian outbreaks are going, but they are throwing every resource at this.
More than 100 cases in 7 days, freedoms winding back, hotspot suburbs facing potential lockdowns, scenarios Queensland wants to avoid.
We don't want to see a second wave. That's something else that people stop me in the street about.
This is part of living with COVID-19.
At National Cabinet on Friday, the federal government will call on the states to unblock the borders, arguing handling outbreaks has always been part of the plan, the new normal.
We can't just shut everything up forever.
It is costing jobs and closing businesses. We would open the borders on the 1st of July.
Balancing risk and reward, opening the border would be a huge boost for business, the economy and tourism. The Premier is also against creating an interstate travel bubble, allowing some states in while blocking others, making the situation in Victoria critical to any border plan. The Western Australian Premier, Mark McGowan, is walking away from opening his border by August 8 due to the Victorian outbreak. Those in New South Wales have been told not to go to Melbourne. Holiday plans flying north into Queensland in July, also up in the air.
We will make these decisions at the end of the month. We're not going to preempt National Cabinet.
The next week will have huge ramifications for Queensland. What does the virus do next in Victoria? What happens at National Cabinet? And then that long-awaited decision, will the border open in July? It is a crucial period, Andrew, that will shape how the state emerges from the pandemic.
So much riding on it, isn't there, Rob? Thank you.
So they were up to date, as we know, that the debate still continues about whether the border should be open or not. But as we know, that people always put a big prime importance on the health. But of course, people are sick and tired, and they're risking, as you have seen in the case of the protesters, they didn't care about the social distancing. They just went out. There's always twos and fronts, and as soon as the borders are opened, we are then open to high risk. Because while we are here and all of us gather in a place, we are still in a contained environment, and we're not coming from different environment or bringing something with us from those environments. As we have seen the case in New Zealand and other places, it's always people who have come from overseas who bring something with them. And that has been the case of coronavirus traveling. So the way to contain it was people are localized, you stay put where you are. And that's the only way to control it so far. And of course, these days we haven't heard much about the vaccine that everyone were talking about. Even Donald Trump's pretty silent on that. He hasn't made any mention of the vaccine or how it is progressing. But right now, let's hear from our Premier, because as we know, yesterday she was in Springfield Land, and also there's many footage from there, and it is also a reflection on the real estate industry.
We put in place grants of $15,000, and this can be matched with the federal government's $25,000, which means as a first homeowner you get $40,000 to buy your first home, your new home. And if you're in regional Queensland, it's an extra $5,000 boost, so up to $45,000. But also too, in regional Queensland, you don't have to be a first home owner. If you are looking at building a new home, you can be eligible for that $5,000 grant, because construction and building means jobs. Jobs in Queensland, jobs for tradies, and you can see just around this development alone, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of tradies working here today.
$276 million is the commitment our government's made so far to support housing and construction across the state. So if we can support tradies, if we can support construction workers, if we can support seniors who will get a benefit from our Home Assist program, what we're doing is supporting jobs, supporting those industries that have done it tough. But as you see around here in Spring Mountain, there is still construction work going on, and that is critically important as the response to COVID-19 continues.
And as the work continues, that scene there yesterday from Springfield Land has been so. Chris Mullen was there, Maha Sinnathamby was there, Raina Sinnathamby was there, Bob Surplus was there as well. So well done. And it is about jobs, and it is about getting the economy back moving on. And as we know that, in this uncertain times, the support of the government and the backing by the government sort of helps a lot. It helps boost the economy and also build that confidence level, which is required, because people are pretty anxious in the industry, each and every industry, to talk about that. I mean, apart from Bunnings, everyone else is worried about what's going to happen in all sorts of industries. Many industries are feeling the pinch starting to come, because up till now the momentum was carrying them through from the previous exercises and previous sales that were coming in through, but right now they're coming to a standstill and they're trying to feel that pinch coming into as has been said by many people, that it will be quite a few number of years before we can come to that, before we can come around to the our normal levels. So right now, let's take a look at the upcoming events. That's Positive Parenting by Bala Sanskar, online Dharma classes. Breathe Your Way with Art of Living, which is wonderful initiative. And Daily Yoga sponsorship, which is BSK Annual 2020 Cup in November. Gurdwara programs have begun, langars have begun. Check out their websites and do visit the Gurdwaras and the Brisbane Sikh Temple. Their free food delivery still continues. And the COVID-19 support Hindu helpline, the numbers there. Vedanta Centre of Sydney's Brisbane chapter. Check out our website and our EDM for all the upcoming events. Sayog Brisbane, joint initiative still happening. And as we said that the Hindu Ahalya Sangam is sending a message that the cafeteria and the temple is open, but we need to exercise the social distancing measures in there as well. It's a Positive Parenting by the Vietnamese community. So there were, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on Australian Indian Radio's daily live updates. And today we had so much to see and do, but could be complete until we had the message from President Donald Trump. And he held that rally, and he was pretty disappointed by the number of people that turned out to his rally. He was expecting more people, but obviously he didn't get the numbers he was looking for. But here's a little bit of what he had to say.
What a terrible thing. But you don't hear them talking about COVID. COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China, as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus. And what we've done with the ventilators, and with the medical equipment, and with testing. Testing is a double-edged sword. We've tested now 25 million people. It's probably 20 million people more than anybody else. Germany's done a lot. South Korea's done a lot. They call me, they say, the job you're doing. Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. Minneapolis, you see what's going on? They're not kidding. They got a lot of problems. They'll have a lot of problems. Hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and a very tough, I've used the word on occasion, hombre. A very tough hombre is breaking into the window of a young woman whose husband is away as a traveling salesman or whatever he may do. By the way, it's a disease.
So we'll leave President Trump there. That is really the first one. And of course, as I said before, he was pretty disappointed that the numbers were very, very low, much lower than what he anticipated. But that is the sign of times. That's the sign of times. That's the sign of things that are happening out there. But right now, today we will take a brief look at the blast from past. As you know, being part of GoPio means going all around the world. As my friendship with the all GoPio chapters through this side of the world to the other side, so many times when there is a little bit of thing that needs to be done on the other side of the world, I am many times called upon. So I'm called upon to come and sit through the meetings. And the meetings, this meeting here actually happened in Malaysia when I was trying to bring together the two sides of the chapters together. So let's have a very quick look at our meeting, which I had to convene. Downtown KL. The Selva Raju Sundaram and our team there from GoPio Malaysia, GoPio Sri Lanka and GoPio Mauritius. And of course our Australian delegates there as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you with that, and it's been wonderful having your company as usual. Today we covered quite a few things out there, and we're really looking forward to bringing a few more people onto the show. As we know, this week there were many people who could not make it, either remotely or even to the studios. But we're trying to put together this show for your benefit, and I do welcome all the feedbacks. The number of views are ever increasing, which is great, and it is encouraging to see that. And all the comments that are coming, keep those comments coming. We've had comments from someone who says they would like to see someone young. Then we had a comment from someone who said, why don't you present in Hindi? As you've seen from the very beginning, the title of the show is Air English. We have many segments on air. So this is our Air English segment through which we present the Bollywood show on the radio. And by the way, talking about the radio, I'd really like you to all go and listen to the radio and give us a feedback on many of the wonderful programs that have been put together by many of our very, very talented presenters. And they do a lot of research and very timely presentations that they make. They are all wonderful programs running on. You can jump onto our website and you can see the timeline and see what shows come on when. And it will be good that if you can all log in and listen to those songs. And we are going to be updating the SoundCloud very soon because there have been many requests from repeated shows. People like to hear the shows that they have missed out on. So they will be uploaded onto SoundCloud. And we are just in the process of finalizing those because there were some old ones and whatever. So we're going through making sure that the relevant ones and topical ones are there so people can go and listen on demand there as well. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having you here with us, and until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.